Well, greetings, everybody. It is good to see you out here tonight. We just saw the governor, Majority Leader Murphy out here, along with the bill authors to this alleged agreement that came out. We've been waiting around for 10 and a half hours in the Senate. We came in early this morning to do the work of the Minnesota Senate, put on a short recess as Senator Fateh and others were really holding up the work of this state and keeping Republicans in the dark on what was going on. Now we see the unveiling here. It's interesting to note who was here and who wasn't here, and the stakeholders that were mentioned as well. Look, we just got a brief idea of what the bill is. We had to take a recess and come down here to actually learn what the agreement was. We represent 50% of the state, and we were kept in the dark the entire time tonight. So this is very disappointing to see how that rolled out here today. We've got a number of bills important to all Minnesotans, and those are all jeopardized tonight. As we try to figure out how to move forward, we only have about 27 hours left to get that work done, and yet we have 12, 15 bills to continue to work through. And so we'll figure out what we need to have happen, but the reality is that this was really a day where we should have been doing work, and we're not. We were sitting there trying to figure out what was happening while we were being kept in the dark the entire time. I'll turn it over to Representative Demuth.
So no Republicans were involved in any of the negotiations or anything that was going on this, and we have made ourselves available throughout the entire process that Republicans want to be at the table. The way that I learned, there was apparently an agreement, and it was going to be announced tonight at this press conference, was on Twitter. Senator Johnson and I, along with the other two leaders, had a meeting scheduled with the governor's office today at 1 o'clock, and that was canceled or postponed till 4 o'clock. At about 3:40, we found out that meeting with the four leaders in the governor's office was going to be canceled and not rescheduled. Well, clearly they were doing their work on their own, completely leaving out the voices and the input of Republicans. As Senator Johnson mentioned, there are a number of bills still moving through that do need work. Bonding is still in play, but they have not included Republicans on anything. That is the one bill that is needed. We need 11 votes in the House and maybe 8 in the Senate, I think, 7. So they do need Republican votes on that. I would say everything is still at risk because we have been completely shut out of the process. If they are operating as if it is full Democrat control and don't need Republicans, then those are the results that are going to be had at the end of this in 2 days when we're done, and that's shutting out the voices of Minnesotans, and it is a wrong way to legislate and to govern in this state.
I will add one other thing too. And what we witnessed tonight is just a theme with the Democrats as well. If you think of the SRO issues, the tax bills, the religious liberty, and now the Uber bill, all of those were created by Democrats and then solved by Democrats. Create the problem and pretend that they create the solution to this too. This is happening over and over again. This trifecta is not being checked, and you're seeing the results of that through this agreement tonight.
Questions?
Despite the Republicans being left out, when you hear about what's in this, if the companies are on board, and there is preemption, which I know some Republican members really wanted to have, preempt Minneapolis, does this get any of your votes?
You know, it's interesting. We haven't seen any language. We have no idea, other than what was just reported at the press conference, what's in there. It does not sound like it's going to travel as a single bill. And so if it is tucked in another conference committee, we've already been voting no on some of the conference committees because of the problematic language in them. I would assume if it travels that way, there won't be any Republican votes.
But if it was a standalone, potentially?
It doesn't sound like it will be. We could potentially look at it, but again, we haven't seen the language, and I can't make any commitments on something we haven't seen.
Senator, you mentioned SRO issues, the tax bill, the religious liberty agreement. Those are all bills that you said were behind closed doors, yet those were also bills that Republicans ended up voting for in some way. I mean, is that going to be the same here?
Again, those were problems. Each one of those is an example of a problem that Democrats created. The SRO issue was something that language that came in last year with the Democrat trifecta created that issue. We had a crisis right before school started, jeopardizing the safety of our schools. They continued to push that back until January, in which we fixed it. Republicans knew we had to fix it. We told them there was a problem from last year, and it took them that long to do it. You know, you can go through the tax bill, and now you can talk about this Uber issue that's happening as well. And so, I mean, this idea, we understand that things need to be fixed. But doing it this way, think about if you're a rider of Uber or Lyft right now. These increases in the prices, how much more are you gonna be paying as a rider? Is it gonna be twice as much now? What's the, we need to see the language, see the runs on this, yet we only have about 27 hours before this session is over. The impact to Minnesotans is gonna be huge.
I had a question, but it has vacated my brain.
We got time. We're in recess, so.
This day is too long.
I mean, they were very brief in their response to that question, but I mean, is there time, especially in the Senate, sorry to leave the House out, but I mean, that's where a lot of these bills still need to pass.
That's a great question, because you saw a record number of late bills come in. We haven't seen this in the Senate before. They all get jammed to the very end. And then now Republicans are gonna be blamed for slowing up the session when we are just trying to understand what's in this bill. We haven't seen these bills before, and now you're gonna say that it's our fault for doing this? This is the kind of legislating that Minnesotans should be up in arms about. This is a ridiculous way to have this session end. And quite frankly, it could have been so much smoother with a little bipartisan work, but they were unwilling to do that throughout this entire session, and now you see the result of that.
Do the Senate Republicans intend to spend a lot of time on debating the remaining items, of which there are many?
So I think what you're referring to, are we gonna filibuster? Absolutely not. What we are gonna do is ask questions about the bills so that we understand what's actually being passed in the Minnesota Senate. That's what legislators are supposed to be doing on the floor, figuring out what the bills are and whether they should vote for them or against them. And we haven't had an opportunity to do that before, so we're gonna be very thorough and try to understand the bills going forward.
And as a reminder, the Democrats have had 2 full years to get this work done. If this was such a priority, waiting till the very last day, that easily could have been done and worked on last year after the governor finally vetoed the bill that had been passed, or it could have been worked on right away. Maybe there was some work being done, but it didn't have to wait till the very last minute.
All right, he's got to go back to the floor.
And we're back into it.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, everybody.